Hello, welcome everybody to Monday night Moshiach Matters class. And we have a very exciting sikha for this evening. Vayetze. The sikha was originally given on Tes Kislev of Shinun Base 30 years ago. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyah b'doroi. And let's get cracking. Okay, Aleph. ונויו האדמו"ר האמצעי בעל יום ההולדת ובעל ההילולה של יום זה, טס כסלו, ומוצאים אנו חידוש. Okay. So it says, let me check something here in my calendar. Yeah. As it's connected to the Admor Emsui, which is the Middle Rebbe, the second Rebbe, whose birthday happens to be this Shabbos, which is on Tes Kislev. There's something unique about this. It's his birthday and the day of his passing. So it's his birthday and his Histalchus. The day he came into this world and the day his soul was elevated out of this world. Exact same day. And furthermore, Shmiyah the Mecharas Yom HaHoledet Shaloi B'Yom Yud Kislev Hag HaGagolah Shaloi Shavon Yistarera B'Beis Esrei. So very interesting. We see the Middle Rebbe was born on the 9th of Kislev. He passed on the 9th of Kislev, and he was redeemed from prison. He was imprisoned for spreading Judaism the day after on the 10th of Kislev. So we see a strong connection coming up on both of these days as they're united together. And according to what is known, Okay, according to what is known, that the fact that there is a connection to the Parsha of the Torah and the time that we're in. And we see also a connection to the Shabbat, which is Parshas Vayetze, the Parshas Vayishlach, and Parshas Vayishlach, which we read during Mincha time. Yecholim mitzvah noimdim hakeshreim im bal hayom haluledet motzah velomdim hakashres hakashreim bal hayom haluledet v'yom halula v'al hagula. Kind of. So we see that there's a connection that we can learn out, and what we can learn out from this, from the fact that the Middle Rebbe was born and passed on the same day, and the day immediately following was the day he was redeemed from prison. As it's known, there are no accidents. Everything is precise in the Torah, especially when we're dealing with the leader of our generation. There's no, every single dot is measured out with precision. The general and main concept is we see that there's a direct connection that we can learn out from the fact that we are in the end of times. We've completed all of the work of previous times, and we're literally at the end and final moments at the forefront of the true and complete redemption. As we have expressed many times, especially recently, before mamish, that now we have already completed all of the matters, and the only thing that is left is to receive upon ourselves in an inward way, in an inner dimension, our righteous Mashiach in actuality. Okay, base. החידוש בכך שיום ההולדת ויום ההילולה של צדיק חלוי. ועשר היום, מובא חז"ל על דברי משה רבינו, בן 120 שנה אנוכי היום, אומרת הגמרא, מה תאמר לה היום? היום מעלה ימי ראשונויסי. ללמדך את שגר רבו ישוע ולמילה שניסיהם, של צדיקים היום, מחדש לחודש, שנאמר מספר ימיך עמלה. Okay, so we see something unique that we learn out from this. That the fact that the day of the birth and the day of a passing of a tzaddik, everything is precise. And we see as it says regarding Moshe Rabbeinu, 120 years, Anochi Hayoim, that on this day, referring to what is Hayoim, it's to the day, and referring to the days in his years, as we're going to explain now. That the years of a tzaddik are complete. In other words, think about how much time we waste on a daily basis. Now compound that on a weekly, monthly, yearly. As I've mentioned many times, but I'll mention again, it says the most painful part of the soul, when it has to go to the world of Gehenna to burn off all of the sins that it did in this lifetime, the most painful aspect of Gehenna is the fact of the realization of how much time was wasted in this world. It's a lot. So the time of a tzaddik is never wasted. In other words, every waking moment of a tzaddik is precisely measured out by God, and he's doing exactly what he has to be doing at every single second of time. He doesn't waste any time, not a second. So we see from this that Hashem is one who fulfills all the days of his life. And he counts literally the days. From the day of birth until the day of passing. It says, and we see this emphasized by the fact that the Mittler Rebbe was born and passed on the exact same day, which is showing what is known as a completion, or shlemus, of his time in this world, because it's just an indicator that he literally passed, and since he was born on the same day and passed on the same day, the 9th of Kislev, it's showing how not only is God measuring out every single day of a tzaddik's life, but that it's complete. It's absolutely perfect. There's no questioning because of the precision of the birth and the passing of the same exact day. So the question is, what do we learn out from this? That the true life of a tzaddik, of a righteous person, has nothing to do with gashmis, has nothing to do with physicality. So why do we care about the day that he passed? Because the measurement of his life is not through physical years, but through spiritual years, through ruchnias. And they're not dependent at all or connected at all to the actual physical days or years. Because the days of the life of a tzaddik are not days of physicality or of flesh, but rather of spirits, of the soul. And they're measured through his faith and love and fear of God. ומילא מובן שאצל צדיק יכול לכאורה יהיה שלמות העבודה אפילו כאשר שנעשיו אינם ממלאים מיום ליום, כפי שרואים אצל רוב הצדיקים שהסתלקו שם, אכן לא חייב ביום ההולדת. Okay, so first of all, we have the aspect that he was born and passed on the same day, showing it's complete. But now we have to ask, what is the big deal? Because the way we measure the value of a tzaddik's life has nothing to do with physical years. It has to do with the spiritual years that are within them, and the spiritual time, which are connected to his faith and love and fear of God. So what's the big deal that he was born and passed on the same day? Gimel. Yershamar, there's to say Shleimus Avodas HaTzadiki b'sha'a shehashleimus haruchnius b'shtakafas gam b'hashleimus hagashmis. So the completion of the service of the work of a tzaddik and the time of completion in ruchnius also reflects the completion in gashmis. Shleimus bizman avodasai, which shows a completion in this time and his service. B'shneim v'yameim b'shanayim v'yameim hagashmim shalai. The days and the years of this physical years in the world. As the rabbi said, Yedua Hashem Yimeh Tamimi, that the days of his life are complete, are perfect. Shem Tamimi Kach Shnoim But Tamimi. In other words, there's perfection, there's nothing lacking. But I tell them and the reason for this is since the ultimate completion of the service of a Yid is connected to his Torah and mitzvot, right? No one cares about how much money he has or what kind of fancy car he drives or his house. That has nothing to do with why we're here. Because this is expressed through his rectification and refining and purifying of his physical body. And therefore we see in such a way that there's no division or separation in his life and his service. But rather, every detail of his life, from his soul and his spirituality, is reflected also in his physical matters. It says that a righteous person is very meduyak, he's very precise to take care of his physical belongings as well, because he knows that the physical belongings, when they've been transformed, are also holy. Asher Hagashmias, when Nastis Tefala Batala the Neshama the Ruchnias. And furthermore, that his physicality, one second. We know, generally speaking, is less important. It's tuffle, it's nullified to his soul and his spirituality. But that being said, all of his physical things, his physical being and his physical belongings are a vessel and a garment and a chariot that reflect and express a completion of his spiritual service. In other words, that even though the main work is ruchnias, spirituality, and for most of us, well, I shouldn't say that, because for a long time, the general avoda for Chassidus was etapcha, which is pushing away physical, gashmias, materialism type things, and focusing instead on spirituality, the inner core that matters the most. But in recent years, the Rebbe has transformed this whole avoda into what we call etapcha, which is transformation, which is transforming the physical to be a vessel for the spiritual. And we see what a tzaddik, that is the case, that the physical belongings of a tzaddik are holy, and they're just as precious as the spirituality, because there's no separation. Because someone who's righteous doesn't have to have this challenge and this test of being tempted by physical matters, because to him it's all the same. Everything is atzmos, everything is godly. In other words, even though the life of a righteous person, a tzaddik, is not a life of flesh and blood, of physicality, of cash money, but rather a life of spirituality, of ruchnias. But the true completion is when his spiritual life penetrates and reflects and enters into his physical life. Until that his physical belongings, including his very physical body, becomes a vessel for God. Even more than this, המשך והספסטוס שהחיים הרוחניים הם מתאחדים עם החיים הרוחניים באופן שהם נעשים דבר אחד ממש, אדם אחד. That by drawing down and spreading out all of his spiritual life, through his physical life, it caused a bonding, a oneness, a unification with his spiritual life. The physical and the spiritual become one in such a way that literally they become one thing. And it's really Adam Achad, Tzaddik. It's not a spiritual person, physical person. He's just a holy person. Ultimately, this is how it's going to be when Mashiach comes. We're all going to be multi-billionaires. Everything in this world is going to be elevated and used for God. There'll be no separation between spiritual and physical. Everything is what we call atzmus hamachus. It's a hard concept for a lot of people to understand, but God is not spiritual because spirituality is a creation, just like physicality is a creation. God creates both physical and spiritual, and God is above, and God has the ability to unite physical and spiritual. That's the whole point of this world, is the unification of physical and spiritual. The whole reason God created all the upper worlds and all the angels and Atzilus, Bria, Etzira, all these worlds is for this physical world. As it says that our bodies will enliven our souls. Right now, our souls enliven our bodies. What does it mean? It means our souls, our innermost dimension, our spirituality is the main important thing. And often you can't tell where someone's holding inside because their outside may not reflect their inside. But when Mashiach comes, it's our physical bodies will enliven our souls, meaning the physical aspect of every being of our lives is going to be reflecting godliness. Every single thing in this world is going to be reflected through your actual physical body and your physical possessions and your physical, everything you have is going to be a vessel for God. Right now it's for a tzaddik, and when Mashiach reveals himself, and the Rebbe said we're already holding at the threshold of this point, this is how it's going to be for everybody. And the completion of this is when the physical and spiritual both reach a state of completion. In such a way that the physical life, the life of flesh, if you will, of materialism, is nothing that is separated, God forbid, and not only that, it's not lacking in any capacity. This is what we refer to in the Tanya as a tzaddik gomor, a complete tzaddik, where there's nothing lacking, where his spiritual and physicality are reflected in complete unification. And his life of flesh, his physical aspect of his life, is nothing other than an extension of his spiritual life. There's no separation. Rather, on the contrary, but that specifically through the completion that is expressed of the spirituality together with the physicality in such a way that it causes the completion also in the spirituality. Everything connects in a state of oneness. And therefore it says Hashem measures out the years and days of a tzaddik day by day in precision. And since that the completion of that service of a righteous person penetrates and spread out also into his physical being, Shari gadar ha'olam hazeh hagashmi umurkav bizman umakom machalek liyamim. And further, that his boundary or his portion of the worlds and his physical aspects are literally a vessel for godliness. And this is literally, you see this day by day in every day of his life and every day of the year. In other words, there's nothing lacking, right? You don't have a tzaddik who wakes up and is like, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do today. Let's check out some video games. I don't know, what's on TV? That doesn't happen. Every single minute is measured out. Unfortunately, most people never realize this in their life. But the most valuable commodity we have in this world is not money. It's time. Money, I've made and I've lost. I've been up and I've been down. And it comes and it goes. This is the cycles of life. But time, you never get it back. You could waste money and make more. But time you waste never replenishes. Never understood this concept. People, so what are you doing? I'm just killing time. Killing time. Think about what that means. You're killing, you're literally murdering, you're wiping out time because you're not using it. So you're killing it, you're murdering it. You're saying, I have no use for this, let me just kill it. Boggles my brain. I struggle to find 10 minutes to meditate at night. I try to meditate every night for 10 minutes, and I usually only make it 2 or 3 nights a week because I'm so busy, I don't have the 10 minutes. And people tell me they're killing time. I just can't fathom such a concept. They'll fathom it once they pass and they go up and they say, holy crap, what a waste. משבחר, קודש ברוך הוא בעולמו קבע בו רעשי חדשים, שניים כשחבר ביעקב ואבניו. קבע בו ראש חודש של גאולה. Okay, now, one second. And it says that then God divides up the days, and the rabbis teach us that Hashem chose, he set up the world in such a way that there's months and years and heads of months. And it says that with Yaakov and his children, he set the Rosh Chodesh, referring to the Rosh Chodesh of Geula, of redemption, meaning that everything is measured. We live in a world of time. I mean, that's just the reality of it, right? We measure hours, minutes, days, weeks, months, years. There's a measurement for a purpose. The measurement of years in the world, in the time sequence. בניגוד לקביעת ראש חודש הגאולה, שכאשר אם בחר ביעקב ובניו ושנה מקיפה וכללוס בתוכה, אז כל שינוי הזמן. ולכן נזבט שלמות העבודה של צדיק, וזה שגם שנעשה תמימוס, שקדוש ברוך הוא יושב במילה שנעשיהם מיום ליום. And therefore we see that the days of the life of a righteous person are tamimot, they're perfect. And that Hashem measures them out day by day. And every single day is complete. It's a good feeling going through your day and knowing that you worked hard, but you maximized whatever time you were given. Therefore, we see that the completion and perfection of a righteous person, of a tzaddik, are when his spirituality and his physicality become equal. In other words, that God and godliness and his whole purpose of creation and every single thing he does, buys, owns, every detail of his life is an exact precision reflection of God. התמים מוישה לא יבשני היחיה וגשמים היא במשך אחד לתמים מויש בעבודת הרוחנית. כשם שהם תמימים כך שניהם תמימים. And it says that the perfection of his years and his life and his physical life that is drawn down into the perfection of his service and ruchnius. And we see again, it's this Indian, this matter of completion in a state of oneness. And we see this. I skipped the brackets. If anyone's following inside, for brevity, we skip the brackets and the parentheses. And we see this concept revealed with our avos, with our forefathers. The Etzel Moshe Rabbeinu, and with Moshe Rabbeinu. Shiva Adar Mace. Shiva Adar Nola. Moshe Rabbeinu, similar to the Mittler Rebbe, was born and passed on the same day, the 7th of Adar. Kivan Shvahayaisam Roi Yisrael Baruch Shainim. But Prat Moshe Re'em Ehem Hashash Israel. We see that Moshe was the faithful shepherd of the Jewish people. And we see the same concept with Moshe, that his days were measured out in perfection, and therefore we see also that he was born and passed on the same day, exactly how God showed that everything was precise. And we see the same concept expressed through the Moshe Rabbeinu of his generation, the second Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Mittler Rebbe. Dollar. And we see this concept and can understand as it's connected to also the Parsha of the week, Vayetze, and Vayishlach that we read during Mincha. And we see a wondrous thing connected to this. That the main counting of the story in the story of in the Torah of our forefather Yaakov, he lo b'Parshas Toldos, was not in Parshas Toldos. Which talked about how Yaakov Avinu went out from the house of his father to Eretz Yisrael. But rather the main counting of the Torah of his story is in this week's Parsha Vayetze. Sheva medubar al Vayetze Yaakov mavor Sheva v'yelech Harna. We see that Yaakov went out from Beersheba v'yelech Harna and traveled to Haran. Haran, as they say in the English vernacular. Al Yetzias Yaakov Beersheba. I already said that. Haran. Af Shel Makayim, Al Lavan Ha'armi, which is the place of Lavan the Armit, In Kal and Yanim Abliti Ritzei Makeshrein Bizeh. And it's connected to the horrible time he had and the very undesirable things he experienced while there. Sorry, I lost my place. And he had a tremendous descent. He went down into the not a good situation, a good place. And therefore it says Yaakov was afraid. How can it be? In addition to this, Becharna Nisa Yaakov Hakim as Beisai. He saved in Israel. Not only that, it says specifically in Haran, Yaakov, it says this was a foundation of the entire Jewish people. In a place of filth, the Jewish people were progenited in a place of klipa. Not in Eretz Yisrael, but in a dirty place. A place that was not exactly holy. Wow, Shaq, nice to see you, brother. Been a while. Thanks for reaching out. I'm glad you joined the shiurim. I'd love to see you more often. Every Monday night, 8 to 10. This is how we roll. God bless you, bro. Yechia Melech. Nice to hear from you. I hope I was well. Brought back some good memories. So it says, even after that Yaakov brought a completion of his service, as it was connected to Lavan. All right, brother. Another time. Peace out. In Haran, and he dwelled in the house of his father, and he brought peace at his father's house. Afterwards, Hashem said, return to your father's house and to your birthplace. And Yaakov returned and fulfilled the commandment. And returned to Eretz Yisrael. And this whole concept began. Only then the story of Yaakov with Esav. Vishlach Yaakov Malachim Lefanov, as Esav Achav, Seir Sadeh Adayim, and that Yaakov sent out the angels before him to greet his brother Esav. In Kol Pratim Sheba Parshas Vayishlach, with all the details in Parshas Vayishlach. So what is the Rebbe getting at here? Let's continue. That the main story of Yaakov Avinu, he was the choice of all the forefathers in the whole Merkava, right? We have Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Yaakov became Yisrael. And even more than that, B'chor Shabbos, he was the choice of the Avos. And then we see that his service, therefore, had to be conducted in Eretz Yisrael. And according to this, we see the connection to the story in the Torah. It's related to Abraham and Yitzchak, which mainly was in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so now we're gonna explain all this. Let's go back inside because the Rebbe is going to explain. According to what is known, that the deeds of the forefathers are assigned to their children. We can understand this from the story in the Torah connected to the deeds of Yaakov Avinu with Lavan and Esav. This is a connection and a sign to his children and the service of who is his children, us, the Jewish people. But so Torah al Yaakov Avinu, and we see out from this that in the middle of the story in the Torah of Yaakov Avinu, that this is the first time in the Torah that we see at length and with detail the service of the Avos in the world. And from this we can see there must be a lesson, because the Torah is the root of hara'ah, which means to teach. In other words, this is the first time that there's a long, drawn-out story connected to the actual service of one of our Avos, and it happens to be Yaakov Avinu. And it says, what do we learn out from this? That the general service of a Jew is to conduct himself in the world. It's connected to our work in the world. And the Torah, we learn out that there is an order to our service and in the details of our service. In other words, every detail of what we do is important. The details matter. Long sikha, wow. And Yaakov went up from Beersheba and went to Haran. If there's any questions in your brain, just hold on to them, because we're going to explain it right now. And I don't want to start explaining things like I always do prior to the Rebbe explaining it. So the service of Yaakov Avinu going out from Beersheba and traveling to Haran, whatever you call it, Misamel Bakalados as you read us, and this is a general symbolizing of the descent of a soul into a body. Nishmasei shall call Yehudi. Nesham v'shanasat pi torahi, that the soul of every Jew, it says, the soul that I breathe into you is pure. Yitze'ez b'Beersheva, and he went down to Beersheva. Sipora Sabina, the Sphera Sabina. This is referring to the Sphera of Bina. Mokar Ba'ar Shel Sheva Midas Ha'etzilus. So when he went out from Beersheva, Ba'ar means Sheva, which means 7. And what it literally means is the Sphera of Bina, which is the root of the 7 emotional attributes of Atzilus. They reflect the 7 emotional attributes of Atzilus, which is the source of the Jewish people, as it manifests in the world. Our original source is from the world, is from the place of what is known as Makshava Keduma, the Ak, the original thought that arose in God's brain, so to speak. But as we manifest in this world, the roots in the world of creation, if you will, is from Za of Atzilus, which is the emotional attribute of the world of Atzilus. And from there, they manifest into Bina, which is reflecting the emotional attributes of Atzilus. And then they go out into Malchus and spread out into the world. Because Bina is the mother, if you will, the womb. And the emotions come out from that. Yerida the Olamos Labia, and from there, from Malchus, it descends down into the lower worlds of Bia, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. Ata Varasa, and you created our soul. Ata Ratzata, and you formed it. Et Ata Nifachta Bi, and you breathed it into me. Down into this nethermost physical world that we live in, the world of Asiya. Haran af Shel Makai. This is the world that is known as the place that is filled with klipa and sitra acha. Klipa literally means a shell, and sitra acha literally means the other side. We learn in the Tanya that evil or not good, if you will, is not necessarily just things that are bad, or anything that is called sitra acha, or anything that is not godliness. So in this world, we live in a world where you have to work very hard to reveal the godly energy in the world. And it's here very, very omnipresent, and you see it and you can feel it if you tune into it. But generally speaking, if you look outside and put on the news, it's not exactly reflecting the godly dimension of the world. It's reflecting the klipa, the shell or the husk or the thing that covers over God. And that is the basis of this world, Olam Hazeh, and that's the general work of a Yid. Judaism is not a religion. Religion is a dirty word, and it's a disgusting word, and it only came into being when other so-called religions came into being. Judaism, quite simply, is the idea of revealing God in a world that conceals him. How? Through the commandments that God provides us. By fulfilling these commandments, we're able to reveal God in a world that conceals God. That's in a nutshell. And therefore, we see in this world that conceals God inside of the shell. The shell covers over it. That's what a klipa is. It's like the peel of a fruit. It covers over. So if it's peeled back or if it's removed, you can reveal the fruit or the inner dimension, which is the godly energy. And that's what the Rebbe says now. That this is a world that conceals and hides over God. In such a way that it conceals and hides over the holiness and the spirituality of the soul, to the point that Rahmani Litzlan, Hashem should protect us. It can even distract and cause a Jew to be afraid and to go against God's will, God forbid, because God becomes so concealed. But the entire purpose of going to such a tremendous descent into the darkness of this world that we're in, The Gashmis Oilam. Rather Rabba, Dak Hashem Yakim Beit Yisrael, Ado Efeshah Metasar Shlema. And we see, but the whole point of coming down into this world that conceals God is that a Jew should be empowered. That when we feel that we know that God is here, and that He's hiding from us. The Rebbe said that this is the definition of Galus. The definition of exile is when we stop searching for God. That is when we are in a state of exile. As long as we're continually searching and working hard to reveal God, we're living in a state of redemption, even though He may continue hiding from us. We know that we're here for a purpose. The second we lose sight of the goal of why we're here and we let the darkness, Hashem should protect us, to overcome us, and we forget our mission, now we're in prison. So the fact that the world conceals over God, this empowers and strengthens a Jew to overcome the concealment and the hiding of the world in such a way that we see that even with Yaakov, it says that his bed was complete. Yaakov Avinu, his bed was complete. He gave birth to what would become the 12 tribes of the Jewish people, not in Israel, but in Haran, in the worst klipa. It doesn't make sense. You would think that his bed would be complete and that he would give birth to the Jewish people in the holiest place in the world, in Israel. It's not what happened. On the contrary, God sent us in this world to bring light into darkness, not to just hang out in the light. דבר זה נעשה על ידי זה שבחיוס נשמה בגוף ומגלה על ידי קיום התורה והמצוות. And the way that we empower the soul, that it should overpower the body, that it should reveal the God that's being concealed, is through filling Torah and mitzvahs. Es or neshama. This brings light to the soul. And transforms the physicality of the world. But Paul had Gashmish, to the point that the body is no longer taking precedence, where the body is overcome, and it literally becomes a vessel for the soul, to the point that it's totally transformed and the soul and the body become one. You know, it's not so complicated. Everyone's a genius. It's like, I remember times in Israel where it's like they go up to Jews in Tel Aviv, and, come, yalla, let's put on tefillin. No, I don't need it. God is in my heart. Good. Well, God says He wants to be on your arm, and He wants to be on your head too. Don't be a genius. God told us exactly what we need to do to reveal Him in this world. Here, there's a bridge. God is infinite, we're finite. The bridge to connect finitude and infinitude is the Torah and mitzvot. That's how we connect to God. So to sit and say, yeah, but I do it my own way, that's asinine, because that's not the way God said to do it, and that's not the way that reveals to what we need. It's the same thing with Mashiach. The Rebbe said over and over and over again in this Sichas, the direct path to bring Mashiach is to learn about Mashiach, and Geula, especially from the teachings of the Nasi Hador. Here they are. Here is how you bring Mashiach. The Rebbe told us. Everyone's a genius. Yeah, but I don't learn that. I learn the kafs, I learn the lameds, I do this, I do that. That's all wonderful. But it's not the key to unlock the door. God gave us the key to unlock the door to connect to Him, Torah and mitzvahs. The Rebbe gave us the key to unlock the door of Geula, learning the sichas and the Nachman base. Well, I just do it, right? And that's the key. And now we see what is hinted in this concept of Yaakov descended. He went down, he went out and descended from Beersheba, from Israel to Haran. This is a great descent. It's referring to the original source of Yaakov's soul in the upper worlds. That when it went down, when it traveled from the spiritual worlds, the world above where we're one with God in a complete sense. And it came down into this physical world, into a physical body that hides over it. Na dafka nasa v'nifal v'yelech v'neshama v'atzmai k'mot shekotzu v'nasati l'cha v'halichim ben ha'oimdim ha'il v'oid yozer na'amar v'yelech harna v'lo haran kivan she'avoda l'matapol es inin halicha. That the service of, specifically it says in the Hebrew harna, not haran, because the service below is traveling, v'yelech, to go. Gam etzir shel harna, its entire existence, to harna. Harna af shel mekoim atzmai. V'lochi no ne'amar v'yelech l'charan, she'az ha'isa ha'kavana rak v'yakov chelech al haran, ela v'yelech harna. Shumurma shehalicha namshachas gam el netziyasev uvetoich mitzvah shel haran atzmai. Yesh lamar, that the idea is that his very being is traveling from this place from above down to below, as he explains now. And this is why the hey is added to Haran. It's not Haran, it's Harana. Harana, with the hey at the end. Because the rabbis teach us that this physical world, that the world was created with the hey, with the letter hey. In other words, when he traveled from Beersheba to Haran, from the upper worlds to the lower worlds, it's revealing the hey in this physical world. And the idea is to reveal that it's through the very power and essence of God that this world is brought into being. And like it says, that this is the cause of what occurred. We see that there's an action that brings this world into being. There's a reality. You see, not to get too off topic, because it is a long sikha, but just briefly, that there was a time that there's a lot of challenges. There was a race war going on in Crown Heights, and there was a lot of problems with the youth. A lot of Schwarzes were coming and starting up with the Jewish kids, and the Rebbe had a public address, and this was he actually requested that this be given over to the heads, the superintendents and principals of all the public schools, which is one of the reasons the Rebbe pushed so hard for this moment of silence at the beginning of the day. And the whole thing is very simple. That everyone should come to the realization that there is a God that creates every one of us from absolutely nothing every single second of the day. And God is intimately aware of our thoughts, our feelings, our words, and our actions all the time. So when you have someone who's breaking the law because they think they're not going to get caught, and then they go to prison and they come out of prison as a better educated criminal, says, oh, now I know what I'm going to do differently. Now I know I won't get caught this way. Why do you think these people keep getting caught? Every drug dealer always gets caught. Whoever's cheating on the wife or the husband, they always get caught. Whoever's stealing will always get caught. Maybe it won't happen right away because God gives you a chance to do tshuva, but God sees you. So if God sees you, who are you tricking? Maybe you out-tricked the man. Maybe you figured out how to outmaneuver the police, but they'll catch you because there's a God, there's an eye that sees. So the idea is that when we realize that there's a force that creates the world, that God creates the world, and God is watching over every detail of your life. And he wants to be part of your life on his terms, not on your terms. So not, God, please help me, get me out of jail so I can go rob again. This time I know how to do it better. You always get caught. Everyone always gets busted. There's a reason. So to go out of this mindset of avoid not getting caught or trying to be slicker and enter into a mindset of God is watching everything I do. He's aware of everything I do. Let me build a meaningful connection with God. And that's the idea of this hay. This hay is representing how Hashem created this world. He enlivens this world. He creates every single one of us. And you can't hide from God. It just doesn't work. You can go in the bathroom, you can go to the table, but he creates the bathroom, he creates the table as well. Wow. יפקע במקום ויעלם שם כי בא השמש. ייקח מאבני המקום וישב ישייסה וישכב במקום ההווה. כאשר נשמע של יהודי וירס למטה להתלבש בגוף הגשמי עולם הזה הגשמי. We see that when a Yid comes down into this world as a soul and occupies and enclosed inside a physical body, in this world, the world is Hebrew for Olam, which is the same root of Helam, which means concealment. Miyad shebo hashemesh, ha'olam al hagilui. Shemesh magen havaya elokim. And just like we see that the sun has a shield, the sun is likened to Havaya, which is God's name of omnipotence, if you will. And the shield, or the ozone, or the protecting layer, is Elohim. And this is what God uses to conceal himself, to hide it over. This is the part of oh, I'm looking. That was, I have to just tell you, that was one of my most sobering moments of tshuva. Now's not the time to go into it, but I've had some very bizarre experiences in my beginning tshuva days. I've had a few soul ascents into upper worlds, and it was wild, to say the least. And the first time when I had clarity, when I saw all these souls, angels, upper beings, literally sitting and staring, and realizing that every single thing we do is being observed, watched, and recorded 24 hours a day. That's a pretty frightening thought. When you first come to the realization that every single thing you've done in your entire life is recorded. Everything. You do tshuva from your heart, and God takes the recordings and rips them up. But they're there. Every thought, every word, everything you've ever done. And when I started seeing reflections of past things I've done that I thought were hidden or concealed, thank God I never murdered anyone or did anything, horrific like that. But it's quite an embarrassing thing. Like, oh my God, you saw that too? Everything. So the word, the divine name Elohim, conceals over the God named Havaya, to the point that we say that's why Elohim is the same gematria of Hateva, which means the nature. It's nature. So we go through this blindness. What does the phrase "everything is recorded in a green book"? I don't know what that means. It says in the Mishnah, in Pirkei Avos, no Bubby, there's an eye that sees, an ear that hears, and all your deeds are recorded in a book. Yeah. Anyway, so the name Elohim is the shield. It's the concealment. It's the hiding over that make us feel that, we can just do whatever we want. There's no reckoning. Okay, I skipped somewhere. Hold on a second. And now we're going to talk about this idea about where Yaakov lay down. It says in this week's parsha we learn about how Yaakov taking a shluf, he decided it was a good place to crash out, and how the angels were going up and down. Oh, it's a long sikha. So it says when someone is laying down flat, your head and your legs are on an equal plane. That we live in a world where the darkness of the world conceals over God, in what is called as a double and double hiding over. meaning that the godly energy is so concealed and hidden over that often we're not even aware that God exists. I'm skipping the brackets. But Oid Yoisen, even furthermore, in this physical world, we see that the forces that oppose God are very strong. So now we see that when Yaakov took a shluf, wait, hold on a second. Yeah. And he laid down. He placed stones around his head in order to protect him, it says, from wild beasts. It's a very bizarre thing. So but specifically through our descent down into this physical world, it brings about a revealing of our true spiritual powers, also in our physical body. And the sun set. And that Yaakov took a lay down, where his head and his body were equal. Where the holiness of his soul was equal across all planes. Normally, this is one of the things that separates us from an animal. Our head is above our heart, and our heart is above our lower parts. The head rules over the heart, the whole heart rules over the lower aspects of us. We walk on two legs. In fact, we're the only, free vert girls chat here. That sounds like an interesting comment. I don't have time to get into that right now, but thank you for posting. So we see that in a normal occurrence, we're the only creation that actually walks on two legs. Yeah, there are animals that stand up on their hind legs from time to time, but literally walk around, Bigfoot, besides Bigfoot, on two legs, where everyone else is on all fours, because all the animals, usually what you're seeing is the head, the heart, and the body are equal, where we have our descending order of priority, head over heart over lower. Unless you're confused and your small head is running your large head. Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about what's happening. Zion, there's a lot going on in the Sikha. It seems like a lot of disjointed concepts, but it's all connected together, as we shall see. So bear with us. And from this, a question arises. Alma Shamus. So far, but pasuk we've got b'makoim, we see that Yaakov, yeah, that's right, that Yaakov was just kind of hanging around, and all of a sudden he decided, this is a good place to take a shlaf. I'm going to lay down over here. This seems like a very good place for me to crash. I'm tired. I'm just going to stretch out right here in the grass and go to sleep. What's the problem? Doesn't seem to be a big problem, but let's see what's going on. The place that Yaakov chose to take a shluf, to nap in, wasn't a stam place. It wasn't in a park and said, that's a nice tree to land in. The place he laid down at was the exact place of the Beis Hamikdash. He lay down and slept in the holiest place in the world. The place of the Kodesh Kadosh, the place of the Akedah of Yitzchak, the place where Adam and Chava were born. I mean, the holiest, the foundation stone, the Even HaShtiyah. That is where he chose to go to sleep. He said, wait a minute. This is the place, the holiest place in the world, where Yaakov said, let me take a shlaf. The afal pisha lo chama psaam sheloi ba'avnoisa kedei she'alin sham. The sun was setting, and he said, good time, good place, let's go to sleep. But there's a couple questions we have on this. The Yishchav L'Makom Mahu, the place that he chose to lay down, Kan Shekavar Avo Kol Yud Dalet Shana, Shaya Tamoin Bebeis of Ever Lo Shechav. Yaakov just spent the last 14 years studying Torah in the shul of Shem Ever, and he never slept for 14 years straight. Don't ask me how that's possible, but that's what the Torah teaches us. For 14 years possible, 14 years straight, in the house of Ever, he didn't sleep. Kan shekavar avo kol chof shana j'oimer b'yishal Levan lo shechav. And before that, he spent 20 years in the house of Levan and didn't sleep. The dafka kalosh and makon based on Mikdash shechav Yaakov lishon. And specifically, when he got to the holiest place in the world, he said, now I'm ready to take a nap, I'm ready to go to sleep. He hadn't slept in 34 years. 20 years in the house of Levan, 14 years in the Beit Knesset of Ever. 34 years, no sleep. And he decided, now I'm going to go to sleep in the holiest place in the world. I don't know. Sounds a bit strange to me. We have to understand what's going on here. The place he chose to lay down must have a great advantage. Comfy pillow. And it wasn't by happenstance that he happened to say, I'm going to lay down here, and oops, this is the place of the base of Mikdash. Specifically, he chose that place. So what's going on here? The Gashmi has been Amida, the Yeshiva, the Shchiva. Specifically, in that place of the base of Mikdash, he chose to crash. Who be'es Amida Shiva. ניחר בגילוי החילוק בין חילוק לעליון של אדם לחלקיו התחתונים, שהוא עליונה שמגינה על התחתונים, מה שאין כן בשעה שהאדם ישן, שאז חלק עליון והחלק התחתון שלו להשבוע. As we pointed out earlier, it's specifically when a person is lying down that his head and his body and his legs are all equal. It's at an equal plane. There's no longer an advantage of head over body over lower parts. So, what gives? And explaining in a deeper way. Specifically, the upper portion of a person symbolizes his essence of holiness. And the lower part is physicality. It's known that this is why in a married man, it's our custom to wear a gartel. We put a gartel around our waist when we daven, specifically to separate the upper or the spiritual, we will, from the lower or the physical. That's the general division. For this we got to understand. That even though that this concept is being revealed in Hashchiva, that when someone is laying flat, spiritual and physical, or in a state of oneness, nevertheless, it's a tremendous Yerida, a descent. In a deeper way, what is going on here? It's really a higher, it's really an aliyah. It's not really a Yerida, a descent. It's an aliyah, it's an ascent. שדווקא במצב זה נמצא למעלה יחד עם מטה ושווה גמור. That specifically the advantage of upper and lower become equal. And now what we see is what is revealed is the very essence and being of God. There's no longer, remember we said earlier, God creates physical and creates spiritual. So for the most part, when we're standing, the spiritual is above and the physical is below. But when we're laying down, we're connected equally to the atzmos, to the very essence of God that creates both spiritual and physical. We'll explain further. And we see there's an advantage when we see upper and lower are at a state of equality. Literally one. All that you do, and according to what is known, Pshita shall ish pshuta kashor im pshitas ha'atzmis. V'darvazin nimshach achar כך גם כאשר הוא קם במצב השכינה שגם שהם במקום המרגישים בגדרים החלוקים שבין מעלה ומטה נמשך מסגל עצמוס ישרח ואז מסבת החילוק שבין מעלה ומטה הציור שלהם אבו ומהוסם הרי אין עניין אחד ויחד כי לא עצמוס ישרח. Afterwards, once the person stands up, once again we're returned to the advantage of spiritual over physical, head over heart over lower. But in their prostrated position, in their lying down position, it's a state of oneness. Everything is completely one and the same. Well, I got to start moving faster here. I think this is the longest sikh in the whole series, 40 pages long. Okay. The Zoyt merit is to say, now we see the idea that a service of a Yid when he's going out from Beersheba to Harna, Yesh Ne'anin, there's two matters. Aleph, Noisef al his gavros shel gilui haruchnias al ha'olam hagashmias. We see the increasing revealing of spiritual over physical in the world, both in Gashmias enol ma'alim, and that the physical is no longer concealed, and that he clean the ruchnis, but rather it becomes a vessel for the spirituality. And the second thing is so the first is that this sent down into physical is in order to elevate the physical, so it's no longer concealing the spiritual, and that the spirituality or the holiness is revealed in the physicality that normally conceals the spirituality. But the higher level is there's no longer any separation between physical and spiritual, where Gashmias and Ruchnias literally become one. Ches. And according to this, we can see the concept how Yaakov chose to sleep in this holy place. Specifically, he chose the place where the base of Mikdash is, or will be. That specifically in this place was the ability to have a complete drawing down of godliness in the world. To the very essence of God, his very atzmos should be revealed. That's for revealing the very essence of God that's above spiritual and above physical. This is a hemshik, it's a continuation about what we learned about in last week's parsha, of the idea of the moon being concealed and being revealed. שהפסיק במשך תכף יחלוים והנה סולם מצא ארצה וירשה מגיע השמיימה מלאכי אלוקים עולם ירד עליו. And this we also see is the dream of Yaakov, of the angels ascending and descending the ladder to heaven, and she's climbing a stairway to heaven. Led Zeppelin stole that from the pasuk in this week's Torah portion, probably from the abundance of LSD they did in India, but that's a different discussion. V'hinei Hashem nitzav alav חיבור ייחוד בין ארצה השמיים על ידי עצמוס ומחוס ודרך ממילה ונמצא שם גל המלאכים. And this is the whole idea of the angels going up and going down to bring about a state of ultimate oneness between upper and lower. That's the idea, by the way, is that the ultimate says that when God gave us the Torah, this was like the engagement ring between him and the Jewish people. And this has been the whole world is a long antechamber or a proceeding before the bridal chamber, where we're preparing ourselves to re-meet again with God. But the difference is this time it'll be the actual marriage, meaning there will be no more concept of upper and lower worlds. It's a mind-boggling concept. It means that everything will be one, like literally. Yeah. You use less than 5% of your brain. We'll use 100% of our brain capacity. Figure that out. That we'll be living in a physical world, but we won't be bound by physicality. The Rebbe actually has a sikha where he talks about that all the technology that exists in the world is only revealing what really truly exists. Why do you think technology is moving in such a rapid pace like this? The people in Asia, which, by the way, the true high tech is not in the Far East. It's in Israel. That's where Google, Microsoft, they all have headquarters there because it's Tel Aviv. It's the Jewish brain that's really cranking out the highest levels of technology. And then they're being replicated, whatever. They're moving so fast to try technology to keep up. You can buy a computer today for a couple $1,000 or $1,000, and literally in 2 months it's already outdated. There's a new chip that came out. Why do you think that is? Because it's moving so fast. Not technology, God. The godly energy is moving so quickly in this world that they're racing to try to keep up with it. Right? If you would have told someone 25 years ago that you could take this little thing and talk to people for free the other end of the world and see them, they tell you you've lost your mind. But guess what? We're not that far away from not needing this. No planes, no phones. You want to go to Israel? Close your eyes, you're in Israel, in your physical body. Yeah, no joke. That's enough sci-fi for the evening. And we see also the unification in a deeper way. All shechashepakates Yaakov Mishnasi. So, wow, God is in this place. I didn't know. Above this level of previous awareness. There's no longer, normally, right, we have this idea that we're below and God's above. But in a state of oneness, everything is godliness. Everything is revealed in a complete oneness of God. Continuing in this, and that's specifically why he lay down in the place of the Beis Hamikdash, because the Beis Hamikdash is specifically the place where God will reveal his very essence and being, like he did in previous times. And we see that after the fact, and we see this idea, this whole state of oneness. And this is why we see also the stones went from all the different stones to combine into one, that all the different levels of godliness really unify into the very essence of God. Tess. And that's why we see also that Yaakov put the stones around his head. A lot of concepts coming together, but they're all delivering the same message. Wow, it's really long. Here's Rashi. Rashi explains that all the stones he put around his head in a semicircle, and they were all fighting to go under the head of the tzaddik. And furthermore, he says they surrounded his whole body. Hold on, I lost my put. So the question is, how are putting these little rocks around his head and his body going to protect him from wild animals, right? Like a lion or a bear wants to eat him. He says, hold on a second, there's a little rock in front of him, let's not go over there. It's a speed bump. What is that doing? Shamnan Kavanas Rashi Shiyakriv Hakif as Kahagufa Ma'avanim. Lochem Gam Diok Leshain Mirazav Shazehu Shem Tinor Katan Shiamin Hamazalis. Lo Shach Mirazal Hashemayam Lechazalu Yavo Dain Zarek Lahavin Nafihan Mudua Magish with Posik Misham Mishal Sav. Okay, so that's the question. Very easily, these animals could have just hopped right over the little stones. How is that protecting him? Yud. Let's find out the answer. Now we're going to explain this according to Chassidut, the innermost dimension of the Torah. That the reason that Yaakov took all these stones and put them around his head. See how this has nothing to do with the physical barrier for an animal. It's a spiritual barrier. Because we see that the fact that he was lying down brought his soul and his body into a higher state of strengthening where they became one. And in Avanim, and that was the whole idea of these stones to bring further strength. Kashram is Galis, but Metzios and Gashmis Metzios Hamitis. To show the physicality that even the physical stones, that the coarseness of the earth, the most physical aspect becomes one with his soul, becomes one with the most spiritual aspect of him. Because now the physical world really became a vessel and transformed into spirituality. And therefore, the fact that Yaakov made this barrier, where in this place that he was surrounded by the stones, which is connected to the base of Mikdash, he literally was revealing the essence, the atzmos of God, where physical and spiritual are one. That revealing of godliness was so powerful that there's no way any wild animals were going near him. It's like, right, when Daniel went in the lion's den, he was totally, nothing could happen to him because he was on such a high level that the animals became nullified. It's the same kind of concept. It wasn't the physical stones that they freaked out, they can't hop over. It's the creation of this very essence of God that was brought about. And therefore we see that he put the stones around his head, the seat of his godly soul. Okay, I'm just skipping the rest of that. It's just for brevity purposes. I got a lot of ground to cover still, and it's the hour's getting late. So yeah, just emphasizing this point. It wasn't about the physical stones. It was about this formation of this oneness of physical and spiritual that brought that godly energy so powerful that nothing would go near. Yurov. And according to this, we can see the power to bring about that Yaakov, the unique power of Yaakov when he went down to Haran. That through this power, he was able to overpower and transform the concealment of Haran. And furthermore, not only was he able to overcome the concealment, He was able to transform this place that concealed God into a place that revealed God, to the very essence of God was revealed. And the unique thing that was caused through the descent of his soul down into this place. And we see that specifically the 12 tribes were progenited through Yaakov in Haran. To the point that it said his bed was complete. He reached a state of completion in the biggest klipa in the world. Fascinating. It's not when you realize that our whole purpose is to elevate the lowest part of the world. But you would think the Jewish people, where are they going to be born? Israel. Oops. The Haisif, in addition to the Sha'al, according to the precise language where it says that his bed was complete. In Mata bed, or Mata, which means lower, or Mata, which is bed. Shagam Mata Takton Mishlema said his bed also means the lowest part of creation was complete. Just like when you lie down in a bed, just like when he lied down outside in this place, it's showing on this concept of the head and the body being equal in a state of oneness. Shleimus Gila Atzmos, the very essence of God in a state of completion.Amishavet Katan Gadol, big and small. Devar Zu Nifal Dafka B'Haran, and specifically brought about in this place of Haran. And the darkest, most concealment is where the holiest came to be. That sounds like a nice opening of a poem. And the darkest place of concealment is where the holiness came to be. Umasa was Misam Lavanim, and the deeds of the fathers are assigned to their children. That the equaling out of upper and lower portions, to the point of below or bed, that literally becomes a dwelling place for God. And we see that God performed miracles for us where? In Egypt. A place of boundaries and limitations. God has revealed to himself to us in not when things are good, but in our time of darkness is when we see the ultimate hand of God. In the straits and the narrows is where I called out to God where he saved me. Specifically through rectifying and unifying and elevating the lower parts of the world, we draw down the upper parts of the world and bring godliness in an equal way across everything. And this will ultimately be revealed when we see that God and the Jewish people are truly one. Don't mess with the Jews, or you're messing with God. We won't name any particular people who've opened their mouth recently against the Jewish people, and look what happened. Yud Beis. Kivan she'ikar avodas yakar b'charan u'musafras b'parshas v'yetze ha'isa v'noga la'atzmei gilui v'achtus neshama v'guf matas shlema v'haya po'ah ma'ora strictly yois v'shlemas gam v'noga la'ila. We see this concept of completion also brings out to the entire world. Boyim ha'hemshech, there's a parshas it says in the continuation of our parsha, Yishlach Yachav malachim lefanav al Esav achav. Yaakov sent out angels before him to greet his brother Esav. Artso she'ir siur sada adoyim u'medaveras beYaakov al biur ha'olam la'yidei Yaakov, referring to the rectification of the entire world. Mavor Chassidus explains, Yaakov hu bechinas tikun uvasa bechinas hatul. That Yaakov is the level of tikkun, and Esau is the world of tohu. The world of tikkun is the world of rectification, and the world of tohu, which is the world above it, is the world of chaos, where we have what's called a shvirat hakelim, the breaking of the vessels, where the godly energy was scattered throughout and spilled down, if you will, into this physical world. And therefore it says that Yaakov sent out angels before Esau in order to begin. No, I'm sorry. Since then it says that Esau already was refined, it was that the world of Tohu was already rectified. And therefore we see that it was already ready. It was already ready and prepared to unify and bring oneness to these very high level of lights in the world of Tohu, which represents Esau, and Yaakov, which is the world of Tikkun or Kelim or vessels. In other words, everything was ready to go. In Kelim, Ruvim, the Tikkun. These big vessels, these big lights in the vessels of Tikkun. And this is what will bring about the completion of the physicality of the world when it's all rectified along with the spirituality. To the revealing of the Atzmos of God that is above for both Tohu and Tikkun. Remember, God's above spiritual and physical. He creates them both. Through this, we're able to bring about the complete oneness of God into the worlds. Yud Gimel. We see two parshas speaking about the work of Yaakov, our forefather. And we see that they represent in order the service from below. Including the ultimate completion of the service of God through fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs. And through Torah and mitzvahs, we're able to refine and purify the physical body and the physical world, and to transform them into a vessel to the soul or the spirituality. To the point that physicality and spirituality, once again, as we said earlier, are literally transformed into a state of total oneness. Until the entire world becomes a dwelling place for God, blessed be He. And all this will reach its ultimate state of culmination in the true and complete redemption. And we see that through rectifying the physical world and the physical body, we're able then to transform them into proper vessels to receive the light of God. And the glory of God will be revealed, and all flesh will see. That literally our physical flesh will see God. And that we see that the very physicality of the world, physical inanimate objects, how much more so the things that are alive, how much more so the speaker, Adam, man, Gashmias Atzmi, that the physical stones will scream out and fulfill the will of God. How much more so us, souls and bodies. Yudal. Takizo shel Torah b'mitzvahs klal. That the ultimate intention, of course, we know is through fulfilling Torah and mitzvah. In order to unite and turn physical and spiritual into one. And this is strengthened even more through revealing the Torah of Chassidus. And all this is brought about by revealing and unifying God with the world, to show that the world is not separate from God, and that the world itself will reveal God. And this is all brought about through revealing the innermost dimension of the Torah. Satim Daraisa, and specifically the secrets of the Torah. Kafishin is God the Torah Chassidus, and this is revealed through studying Chassidus. And this will bring about the unification of the concealed or the secrets of God with the secrets of the Jewish people. Ooh, my baby's got a secret. And by this gives us the power. That the secrets of the Torah, the Chassidus specifically, gives us the power to transform this physical world into a proper vessel for God and to reveal God in this world. And specifically through revealing the Torah of Chassidus of Chabad. To reveal godliness and enclose it in our thoughts and grasp it in our minds. This isn't a favoritism towards Chabad. Chabad is not an institution. It's not a corporation. Unfortunately, it's turned into that a little bit. But Chabad stands for Chochmah, Bina, and Das. Wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. It's taking the deepest, innermost desires and secrets of God and bringing them into our brains so we can comprehend them, understand them, and know them in such a way that we can become one with God. And literally penetrates into our physical brain, even including the brain of the animal soul. Including even the brains of the nations of the world. And that your well springs will spread out. Talking about the well springs of Chassidus, of the Baal Shem Tov, that they will spread out outside to the furthest places that they can reach. That the furthest parts of the world will literally transform into a dwelling place for God. There is to say, specifically through revealing the Torah of Chassidus. And we see this specifically in this most auspicious time in the month of Kislev. And Kislev is the third month. It's the third month when we're counting, of course, from Tishrei. And the third month counting from Nisan is Sivan. Chodesh Hashlishi, Chodesh Kites, which is the third month of the summer. This is the third month of the winter. When we divide the calendar into just two halves, not into four. Shishlishi, Harehu, Kashur, Iman, Torah. And just like the third month of Sivan is the third month of the giving of the Torah, that's revealing the revealed part of the Torah. The third month, when we're talking about Kislev, is the time of revealing the Panemius of the Torah, the Chassidus of the Torah. And we see this in this month. There's many things in this month connected to Chassidus, or the oil of the Torah. Yotes Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, which is the day of redemption of the Alter Rebbe. Yesad Torah Chassidus Chabad, which is established the foundation of the Torah Chassidus of Chabad. Who Rosh Hashanah the Chassidus, which is called the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. And then specifically, as is known, the spreading out of the well springs. Tes Kislev, Yom HaOled Yom HaIlul Nasi HaSheni Shachabad, and Tes Kislev, which is the day of the birth and the passing of the second Nasi of Chabad, the Mittler Rebbe. The Hanukkah, B'Seif Chodesh Kislev Yeshaychos Mecharesh Shal Gilui HaPanimis Torah Chutz. And also in Hanukkah, the end of the month, where we see the well springs of the Torah specifically spread out, the innermost oil through Hanukkah. Kevan she'ikar nes Hanukkah hu nes pach Hashem's. Shemen, that the main miracle of Hanukkah is connected to oil. Shemen Shabbat Torah hu razin derezaim derais. And the oil of the Torah is the secrets of the Torah. That's Chassidus. The secrets of the Torah are known as Kabbalah, which is oil. Wine. But the secrets of the secrets, the deeper dimension is oil, which is Chassidus. And this is, we spread out this miracle by lighting our Hanukkah menorahs and bringing light into the outside world. And we bring this together through the unifying of the month of Kislev and the unifying with the month of Sivan. Hari Gashmin Kashra Ima Vodas Adam Namat. Kamoshkosu call Kilo Hamatir Hashem Adokechem all arts. Adam Ain the Abudas Adama. Alam Mina Arch Vishaka Eskal Pine Adama. Masha Ain Kain Chodesh Hakites. Hain Hakashra Ikra Beinin Hatal Asher Yura the Matan. Okay. Talking about the winter months and the summer months, connecting the idea of the dew and the rain, and connecting how just like the Torah was given in the third month of Sivan, the Penimis of Torah or Rosh Chodesh of Chassidus is given in the 19th of Kislev, the time when the Alter Rebbe started revealing Chassidus and spreading out to the furthest corner of the world, and how this is again reflecting this concept of unifying physical and spiritual, or the outer dimension of the Torah, which is the third month of Sivan, and the inner dimension of the Torah, which is the third month of Kislev. Okay, Fesvav. I'm just speeding up so we can, God willing, try to finish on time because there's 20 paragraphs. Again, I think it's the longest sequence. Fesvav. B'gilui Torah Chassidus b'chodesh Kislev atzma, and the revealing of the Torah of Chassidus in the month of Kislev itself. Yifal ha'chi v'rashal ruchnias v'gashnias v'oifen yuchara yidei oifen gilui Chassidus shel admar emser. And we see this, the unification is bringing about through physical and spiritual, specifically through the Chassidus of the Admar HaEmser, which Baruch Hashem I'm learning right now, in Bina, which is the unbelievable Hemshek given over through by the Mittler Rebbe. Yudua Shigilui Torah Chassidus Chabad, and specifically through revealing Chassidus of Chabad. Bo'efen Musadak. Makal Echam Rabbu Seinu Nasino Gilui Bafal Ad Shalei Bederech Begilui. And we see every one of our Rebbes and our leaders in such a way that they brought about a further revelation, in further states of revealing of Chassidus, of the innermost dimension of the Torah. Admor Hazakin Hu Dargas Chochma Shel Torah Chassidus. And the Alter Rebbe represents Chokmah. Hu Gilui Es Inine Chassidus Ba'ifin Shahanakuda. And we know that just like Chokmah is a point, the Alter Rebbe's Chassidus was very condensed. It's very deep. Just little points. Achre Admar Emsoi. And after him come the Mittler Rebbe. Dargas HaBina was connected to Bina, which is the river, which opened up the Alter Rebbe's Chassidus in a depth and a breadth. Rachav Habana Vahasaga, and he opened up a deeper comprehension and understanding. Literally, that some of the Mittler Rebbe's Maimarim are 35 pages long. It's mind-boggling. Ruchoy Hanahar, which is a widening of the river. Shel Bina, which is talking about Bina, right? You look at the Yud and then the Hey. The Yud is the point. The Hey opens it up wider, deeper. An example of this is the water of the river of Bina that is drawn down from the dot of Chochmah. And it takes that energy and spreads it out much wider and deeper. And we see this based on the explanations of his Chassidus. And we see that the Mittler Rebbe literally took the points, the small points of the Alter Rebbe's Chassidus and just opened it up much deeper and wider. Big day the Paul Bishlemas Es Yecha Yechud Segoim Hamoskal, in such a way to bring about the completion and unification of the brain and the thoughts within the brain. And in another way we could say it connects the brain of man to the thoughts of God and the knowledge of God. It helps godly energy permeate into us. And specifically through learning Chassidus. It adds on to our grasping this concept of Chochmah, and also increases our comprehension of Bina. But in such a way, it opens up our brain. The Rebbe has a beautiful mimer from Lag BaOmer. I can't remember which year, but it's an amazing mimer where he says when you learn Chassidus, it literally opens up your brain and builds more brain cells. Like it doesn't just affect your spiritual. The Rebbe says that the gray matter, the actual physicality of your brain expands when you learn Chassidus. And we see through this we can bring together the unification of physical and spiritual. Specifically through learning Chassidus. And this will also add on to Chochmah and also to Bina, to not only to our wisdom but also to our understanding. Do you hear me? Do you care? One second. Okay. V'yesh lamar. There is to say. Shatam lezehu mishum b'ruchoi v'yis hanahar. And we see this is the reason for the widening of the river of Bina. Namshichim mishora shabina. That draws down from the root of Bina. Ruchav ha'atzmi. And opens it up and spreads it much further. And there specifically through this we see the ability to unify spiritual and physical by drawing down a godly energy that's above both. And we see this in his very name that describes him, the Middle Rebbe. Emsui Mitzion Shehu Bo Bein Harishayin L'Shlishi, that he is the middle between the first and the third. V'hu Mechubar Oisan, and unifying both of them together. Ha'admor ha'emsui V'chayoysei B'dargas Habina, that he represents the level of Bina. Mechabar Es HaNasi Shlefanav Im HaNasi Shla'achar, and he unifies the Nasi that came before him and the Nasi that came after, which is the Admor HaZaken, the Alter Rebbe, which is Chochmah, and the Admor HaTzemek Tzedek, which is Das, and the third Rebbe, the Rebbe HaTzemek Tzedek, which is Das. And through him he brings together and combines the three heads and the three forefathers of Chassidus, which are Chabad. Kivan Sheba is Batas, Klalois, Bapal, Shagilui, Chassidus Chabad. And this brings about the revealing of Chassidus Chabad, the Chabar Lokus Im Ha'oidim. But the whole point of Chassidus Chabad is to unify God with the world. Test Zion. Al Pihana Muvan Madua Dafka Etzel Admor Ha'emsui Mutziim Esa Chidush V'Hashlims. And we see that now the unique thing of the fact that the Middle Rebbe was born and passed on the same day. Kivan, not passed, elevated. We don't say passed with a tzaddik. He went up. This emphasizes even more how he brought about a completion and unification of physical and spiritual. גם אש-ימיו ושנעשה וגשמים שגם הם מתמימים ושלמים. ועל פי זה יש לומר גם הטעם מדוע יום זה. הם הוא גם ערב הקנה לי"ר כיסא. And we also see the connection to the fact that his unification of physical and spiritual, which took place on the 9th of Kislev, directly preceded the 10th of Kislev, which is the day that he was redeemed from prison. Kivan sheshlemus chibur shel shlemos avodas hatzadik ruchnias gam shlemus hagash. Since the completion and the unification of the service of a tzaddik in spiritual, and the completion and the unification that's expressed through his physical matters as well. So powerful that this specifically expresses and immediately gives the power to bring about redemption. This is a boom. This is the concept of spreading out well springs. So powerful. One of these days, God, just give me time. It boggles my mind how much time I spend on a daily basis in the minutia of my business. Not that it's not important. There's so many things that I wish I had time to do. So many perushim. I'd love to go through and make a perush on the non-often basichas of just chidushim that I've come up with that I just don't have time to share with my wife. Yeah. Anyways, so he says specifically like this: the fact that the Middle Rebbe was born and was histaluk and went up on the 9th of Av shows how his physical and spiritual realities were combined as one. And the advantage of that manifested itself in the fact that he was redeemed from prison the next day on Yud. In other words, breaking it down in a simple way for each one of us. The key to redemption, this is what I was speaking about at the Kenes, the point I was trying to get across at the Kenes Shluchim, which Baruch Hashem I was zeichet to speak at last week, that redemption, that the spreading out of the well springs, that the way we bring about redemption in our personal lives is when Mashiach, Kabbalah, Penei Mashiach, the face, the inner dimension of Mashiach, penetrates into our very being. So it's not spiritual and physical. It's not, well, yeah, I'm conquering the world, but I'm neglecting my family. Or my family's great, but I'm neglecting the world. Or, yeah, I study Torah all day, but I don't have money for food. Or, yeah, I'm abundantly rich, but I don't have time to study Torah. No. It all has to become one. Physical and spiritual have to become one. When godly energy, when the energy of Mashiach penetrates into your very kishkas, to your bones, in every capacity of your life, this is redemption. This is how you manifest redemption in the world. What Rebbe is saying right now, it's not my words, it's what the Rebbe is saying. It's specifically that's what brought about his redemption on the following day. That's it, even in specifically through revealing the Chassidus of the Middle Rebbe, the Ma'aseh HaGeula, until this brought about his redemption. Bo gam zeh gufa geula ufritzas gederish l'mayla medira hagbal. Redemption is breaking through any boundaries or limitations. That's what redemption is. So if there's anything in your life that is constricting you, anything, you're not living in a state of redemption. We have to break through all these, whatever you want to call them, obstacles, challenges, difficulties, real, perceived, whatever they may be, in such a way when we break through above any boundaries or limitations, and the more we break through, the more powers we're given to break through, right? I'm not a video gamer, but I understand the concept of video games. And the idea is as you go from level to level, it doesn't get easier. It gets more challenging. But you get more tools, you get more powers, right? You get power-ups, you get armor, you get bigger swords, whatever the hell you're doing. The point is that things are not meant to get easier, but God gives us more power, more energy. When we break through, we get a higher level, right? We all have those moments where it's like, there's sunlight. Wow, that was weird. Right, right when I said, and there's light, what? The computer shut. It disconnected me. Too much light, too much energy for the pipes. All right, I think we're back on now. Are we on? I think so. Um, that was really strange. So the idea is that God keeps giving us more power. The more we push and the more breakthroughs we have, the more energy and power God gives us to continue doing more. Okay. ואז רמזה שהגולה של י' כסלו נעשה תחילה וקדמה לגולה של י' כסלו ראש השנה חסידus. And Yud Kislev is a precursor to Yud Tes Kislev, the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus, when the Alter Rebbe was redeemed. Yud Zayin. My apologies, we are running a few minutes late, but we're not that far behind, especially considering how much information and how long the Sikha is. So let's carry on, and hopefully we'll wrap up. Wouldn't be too far behind schedule. The Haise Shabakal Ze Yishtana Hadgasha Yisra Bekavio Shana Zu Kasher Teskislev Chal Yom Shabbat. And we see this is a unique thing that the 9th of Kislev that year falls on Shabbat. And guess what? Same with this year. Baruch Hashem, we're having a Shabbaton at the center. Specifically on the 9th of Kislev. No coincidences. Yom Shabbos Namshachas HaKadusha HaRuchni Oinig Shabbat. And we can see that Shabbat is a foretaste of this idea where Gashmis and Ruchnis become one, where we eating and drinking and enjoying these, specifically enjoying the pleasure of eating and drinking on Shabbat. Asher HaNeshama Yisira Namshachas BeShabbos Paula Yishimai Gam Teva HaNefesh HaBehemoth. We're even allowed to enjoy food and drink, even our animal soul. Excuse me. Okay, Yurches. Kol Amar the El Shach Vedorga Yehudim Makal Hadoris. And everything we said above is applicable to all Jews at all times and all places. Alachas Kama Vakama Vedreinu Zu. How much more so in our time? Bismanu Zu. Sha'al Pi Simanu Chazak. And according to all of our sages, we've already reached, and we're already literally at the threshold of the true and complete redemption. As we've said many times, especially recently, through all the work that has been done throughout all the generations, but specifically through the work that is brought down by all our Rebbes and the leaders of our generation, that all the days of the forefathers of Chassidus, the Chabad Rebbes, and all their work to bring redemption, to the point that even the Frierdiker Rebbe said, all the work has been done. Everything has been rectified. There's no more beruring. There's no more. We're not refining the world anymore. The world's a vessel. And even Esav, Adom, has already been rectified. How much more so? If in the time of Yaakov, Esav was already rectified, how much more so now? Everything's been elevated, everything's been rectified. For sure, now it's completely done. The Rebbe says we see this in what is Esav? It's the continuation of Adom. What is Adom? It's Rome. And what is Rome today? It's America. And it says that America is Malchut Sheba Chesed, a kingdom of kindness. I guess the Rebbe gave them a pass when they closed the doors to the Jew in the Holocaust. I'm not so kind, but I guess the Rebbe is. The Rebbe says we see already that we find that the physicality of the world, that our physical bodies and the physicality of the world is already purified completely. That we're a vessel to receive the highest level of godly energy. That the very light and energy of Mashiach, we're all a vessel for. Everything is here. Everything is ready. We just have to permeate the God into our being. Or the light of the true and complete redemption. They're literally revealing the very simplicity of the essence of God in the world. And this is revealing the simplicity of the very essence of Mashiach. But it's nothing different. Mashiach is godly energy. That's what it is. And this is also capable of every single Jew to reveal this in the most simplest sense in every aspect of our lives. And we have to see what is possibly missing. And the Rebbe says like now, that if a Jew opens our eyes correctly, we will see how everything is already ready for redemption. And the table is already set. And the Leviathan is already sitting on the table, the great whale. And the animal, the Shohar Bor, the great bull is sitting on the table, and the guarded wine is sitting on the table. Everything's ready to rock and roll, folks. And the Jewish people are already sitting around the table. Shulchan Havehem, the table of our fathers. Melech HaMashiach, Melech Malchei HaMelechim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the King of Kings, God Himself, sitting there. Together with Mashiach. And in our generation, the leader of the generation, the Frierdiker Rebbe. And the Rebbe said, after 40 years since he was installed, we see that the Frierdiker Rebbe told us we already have Lev Dadas, a heart to know, V'einayim lirois, and eyes to see, Iznayim lishmoa, and ears to hear. And at this time, all that is left is Shifto es halev dadas, to open up our heart to know. V'ifkochu es einayim lirois, and open up our eyes to see. V'iftachu es einayim lishma, and open up our ears to hear. All that exalt. And according to this, the netzel es kol ramach ivrim v'shagidim hagashmi. All 248 limbs and 365 sinus of our bodies. Nosef al limor haTorah bekim b'mitzvahs v'klal. In addition to learning Torah and fulfilling the mitzvahs in general. The lemad penimis Torah finis galasar b'torah chasidus v'kim machoras v'rabbasim natzim. We must increase in our learning in the innermost dimension of the Torah, the chasidus, and from the teachings of our Rebbes. And the Rebbe says, including and specifically, Loneid be'eni ha'geula, increase in our learning of matters connected to redemption. And in this way, it will open up our hearts and open up our eyes and open up our ears. And we will literally see and feel this spread out literally into the physical world. And this is the true and complete redemption and actuality. And the godly energy will permeate into the kishkas of the world And we will learn the Torah of Mashiach in such a way that we will see. And we will see everything is already ready and prepared. It's necessary only to open up our eyes and see that this is the true reality. Yotes. And its connection to actual deed. Since we see that the unification of soul and body, physical and spiritual, is already at a state of completion, and everything is ready for redemption. It's necessary to bring this out in a revealed way in actuality. And first of all, we see that all the time is complete. Everything's done. As we find ourselves in the day of the birth and the elevation of the middle red. And we have to increase in learning his Torah. Specifically in such a way of opening and widening the river Bina. And this is applicable to every single Jew. Men and women. The Talmud Gadol Shemivi Leidei Masa, and the ultimate point of learning is to bring to deed. The Abizois Masa Avodas Bafwal, V'Leamora Admora Emsei, Asher Etzu Bo Lidei B'Toy B'Shlemas Avodas B'Torah Chassidus Hagashmiz V'Gov Ha'Oidam. And we see that not only should we increase in learning his Torah, but we should bring it into actuality, that it manifests in our physical bodies in the physical world. And we should increase day to day. And this should be expressed in everything we do in such a way of Chassidischkeit. It should permeate all of our actions. In all our physical being as well. And there should be warmth coming from our Yiddishkeit and our Chassidischkeit. Shouldn't be coldkeit, right? Unfortunately, sometimes Chassidus becomes a means of becoming a intellectual. No, it's to warmth, energy, chayus, life. The Eifin Shalo Yahya Benehem called Pirud Kalo. Literally, that all our physical and spiritual matters should not have any separation. It should literally be one. In addition to this, we must increase in Chassidish Fabrengens, especially on Yud Kislev. And it's connected to increasing our learning of the Mitler Rebbe's Chassidus. We should take good resolutions upon ourselves. And first of all, by increasing in our Farbringens, in our Chassidic Farbringens, make them bigger. On Yud Tes Kislev, the redemption of the Alter Rebbe. The race and they should take place in all over the world. And it should penetrate our very beings. And the Farbrengen should continue throughout the month of Kislev. And we should increase in our learning of Chassidus and our ways of Chassidus. Up until the end of the month of Kislev. And then continue from Farbrengen throughout Hanukkah. Shapatach Beitai Mechutz. Boyfriend we say we should spread the light out through Hanukkah. Kulam and Hagar Rabbeinu Kiyum Simam is Lagabi Habayit B'Mei Hanukkah. The head of Mei Hanukkah Levani Habayit B'Prat Ledim Levanim Ovanos. And we should bring our children to be involved in the midst of Hanukkah. Ki Kasher Koachar Makiyum and Hagzu. Parsulam Hamit, and we should and publicize this outside as well. And we should give Demei Hanukkah, give Hanukkah Gel too. And furthermore, we should strengthen our connection to our Rebbes. By increasing our power in learning their Torah. And also in every aspect of our lives and all the details of our lives. And generally and specific. We should increase and specifically in these times in their learning of matters of Mashiach and Geula. And surely this will bring about the true and complete redemption. May be God's will. That through just giving over our good resolutions, this alone should bring about the full redemption, the full and complete redemption. The Any Basar call Yehudi shall call Yisrael, that the flesh of every single one shall see. The Tekaf Miad Mamish, Elohim call Yisrael, and immediately all of us will go together. Aral Am Inina Shemaya, we'll all go on the clouds of glory. Together with all our deeds and our Torah learning that we've done. And all our physical belongings. And even our homes, which are our little temples. Asher Nasa Hadoirim Legamri Baor Chasidasaka Kedoshas Hanasham. And the light of Chassidus should penetrate into our very homes. And the God's Shekhinah will dwell amongst us. The Artzaino Hakadusha, and we will all travel to our holy land. Yerushalayim HaKodesh to the holy city of Jerusalem. The Har HaKodesh to the holy mountain. The Beit HaMikdash Shlishi to the third temple. The Kodesh Kadoshim, the holy of holies. Shishaim Nimtzeim Evan Hashtia to the foundation stone. Shemimeno Hashtes Ha'edom. And most importantly, it should happen right now. May it be God's will that the light of Chassidus should penetrate into our very beings, into our families, into our homes, into our neighborhoods, into the entire world, and we should have the full disgalus of Melech HaMashiach right now. God bless you. Moshiach now.